Padron booth and said hello to longtime friends George Padron, Orlando Padron.
Nice to meet you.
And Orlando, I know you're a little on the shy side, but get in here. You're not getting away now. First of all, gentlemen, as always, longtime friends, great to see you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
El Martillito, the hammer that both George and Orlando are wearing, has a very special significance. The founder of Jose O. Padron began with the hammer, and I want to share that story because it's an incredible story, and it's really the basis of the founding of Padron Cigar.
The American dream.
That's right.
Well, you know, my dad he is the American dream, right? That's Cuban immigrant, comes here with nothing, and he's able to start this company with $600. And, you know, the story of the hammer is that, you know, my father, as all Cuban immigrants that were coming in at the time, were getting a government handout that was given to them by the U.S. government. And my dad, after a while of receiving that handout, felt bad for taking it because he was able to work young, and, you know, he felt like, in his words, a parasite coming to get this handout. So he said to the guy who ran the Cuban Refugee Center that he didn't want to take the money anymore, and the guy totally understood where my dad was coming from. And having met my dad already for a number of months, he knew that my father liked carpentry. So he symbolically gives him this hammer, which is a finished carpentry hammer that my dad then later ended up using as, you know, as part of his moonlight gig, where he would, you know, do all sorts of carpentry work, you know, for Cuban establishments opening up in Miami. And with that, he earned the $600 to start the company. So
it's a great story. This is maybe about 4 years ago. I will never forget, I spent an entire afternoon with you, your dad, and everybody, the whole Padron family, and we got to talk with him in detail. I think we got about 3 hours worth of recording, and you translated, and he's told a story about he saw a space, but didn't have all the money he needed yet to really begin rolling, but he wanted the space. He paid rent and the electricity, I think, for what, 6 months, 9 months, a year, until he had the money to buy tobacco?
The problem was, it wasn't
the license.
just that. It was the license.
The license.
In order to get the license, in order to apply for the tobacco manufacturing license, you had to have an establishment already rented. So he had to rent the space before he could actually start making cigars. So that's where part of the problem.
That was it. So he was paying rent, electricity, and he started rolling cigars, 30 cents each. He would roll them during the day, then go later in the day, the next morning, to all the Cuban cafeterias, and all the Cubans that love their fumador. I think it was a
Fumas.
Fumas.
No, at that time it wasn't a Fuma.
It was a Cazador.
It was a
Cazador. And there was a great story that some other guy was doing something, and he did a little differently for, I don't know, a better price or something, and he ended up getting all the business, 30 cents a cigar at the time.
Yeah, no, the thing was that the cigar that he started with was called a Cazador, which has a round head.
Right.
And at the time, there were no of the Fumas, the curly heads on the market. And there was this one customer that continued to ask him for that specific type of cigar. And then one day my dad, you know, was having a lot of problems in building the business, and he got the idea. He goes, shit, let me try and make this cigar that he likes, and we'll see if that sticks. And sure enough, you know, he did it, and it did.
And the rest is history.
The rest is history, yeah.
As I look over, there's a great picture of you, both of you with your dad wearing a leisure suit. Leisure suits were hit back in the 70s. And your dad was a big strapping guy. And up until really the last few years, he would come in here, and I would come visit you in Miami, and he would inspect every cigar that came through the Padron headquarters.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
And if it wasn't right, that was it. And I remember the story he said that there was a batch of cigars that weren't good. He went back, and one of the retailers said, or the cafeteria said, they're not selling, there's a problem. He took every one of them off the market.
Oh, yeah.
He said, that's it, and came back with new ones. And as you say, the rest is history. So let's talk about history. Staying with history, we're at now they call the Premium Cigar Association, but the forerunner of the PCA and the IPCPR was the Retail Tobacco Dealers Association. Both of you young bucks at the time, tell your father, this was, I think,
1993.
93.
Was the first trade show we went to.
In Dallas. All right, so 27 years ago, and you tell your father, we've got an idea for a cigar that's going to be a square press cigar, high priced at the time. What was it, $7, something like that?
Yeah, well, that didn't happen quite like that.
No. I thought you told me that's what happened.
No. What happened was we went to the first trade show in '93.
Okay.
And then between the first trade show and the second trade show, we developed the anniversary.
That's what it was.
Right. And we developed the cigar, and my dad, he wanted to make a cigar similar to the types of cigars that he used to smoke in Cuba.
Right.
So he decided to make it square. Or
Oh,
box
that's how it
pressed,
was. Okay.
Yeah.
which was the
But the
type
pricing was your idea.
no, well, the pricing was different. It was a new structure based on what was on the market at the time.
All right.
But this was considered a super premium cigar.
That's right. That's right.
Prices in that time ranged, I think, between like $6 and $10 or $12. That was the price range of the anniversary.
And 12
line.
was like on the super
Yeah.
high
That
side at the
time,
time. And I remember you said, and your dad said, you had no idea what to expect when you went to the show with these new square press 1964 anniversaries. So what happened?
Well, I mean,
It
first of
took
all,
off.
we didn't have a lot of cigars, so it
Well,
was,
we were more worried about the booth because we had to build that.
yeah.
Right.
And just to build
Well,
the
no,
booth
the
in
second
front-
one, the second year with the anniversary, we had the same booth, but we made that little wooden. Remember the little display cabinet where
That's
the
right.
cigars were
That's
inside?
right.
I
We
mean,
made
we
a
look
little-
total Cuban refugees, man. I mean,
But you
we
know
had
what?
these little wooden display case that we made, that my dad made in Nicaragua, and then it had like 2 doors, and there were 6 cigars, 6 boxes of cigars, all in there. So
And one more thing, the structure for that booth, it came from his head. So we were just following his orders. Do it like this. Like that.
Well, and that makes the story even better. Padron Cigar was an overnight success, just about 20 years of overnights. Because it doesn't happen literally overnight. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of ups
well,
and
it's
downs.
been 55 years.
That's right.
This
But
is
by the time you went to that
55
convention, it was really 20 years till things really kicked in, and then you launched the 1964, and then it really kicks in, and then the 1926, the Family Reserve, Damaso, which has been a great hit, a beautiful, milder type cigar. But everywhere along the line, the one thing your father always imparted to both of you, and the Padron philosophy is, we're not going to change for the sake of change. We're going to make great cigars, even during the boom. He said, look, we have quadrupled the demand. We're not going to change our output because it has to be excellent quality.
Quality, not quantity.
Wonderful.
Bingo.
All right.
Exactly. And that existed today, and I think that's why people are such big fans. Every year, I remember the Damaso, that was huge. That was the first new cigar in what, 7-8 years?
Yep, pretty much. I mean, there was a new line of cigars,
Right.
from the Padron line. Obviously a different cigar than what would normally put out. So yeah, I mean, we're not a company that is constantly trying to reinvent the wheel. We haven't had a new product out in 2 years. So I mean, again, we bring products to market when we feel we can create something that's different and unique.
And every cigar that we come out with has a meaning to it and why it's coming out too. Like the Damaso and like the 1926, which is my father's birth year, 64 when he started the company. So everything has a meaning to them. And if we have the right product, we put it out.
Well, I always say
It's worked.
It has worked. Cigars are about really memories, friendship, camaraderie. And the one thing I will never forget is flying down for your 100 or the 50th anniversary. Sorry, 100, maybe we'll all be around and we'll celebrate that too. The 50th Padron 50th anniversary party, and you had it at a very unique place in Miami. I'm driving there, going, where am I going? I think I'm in the wrong area. You walk in. It was like being transformed. It was a party to both of you that not only will I always remember, but I was honored to be invited. It was just an incredible occasion, and to see the entire Padron family. John Sally emceed it.
Yeah,
that was
right.
a lot of fun. He went a little off the rails, but it was great. But to see the whole family. How many generations of Padrons are now in Padron Cigar?
We have we're 4th. We have 5th. 5th generation.
Yeah.
Fifth generation. And I saw your daughter. Was it your daughter or your niece?
My
That I
niece.
s- Your niece, she was in, right?
Oh
Your-
yeah. We have 5th generation right
Right.
now working in the business.
And it's interesting because in so many family businesses, you get to the 2nd, 3rd generation, ever there's infighting. There's none of that at Padron. And I
No.
think that's a tribute to your father that said, we're all family, this is how we work. And there's no bickering, there's no infighting, everybody talks. And I go in and I feel like family when I'm visiting you. And just to see everybody working and
Everybody that's working here in this booth is family.
family, exactly.
So,
Cheap labor, that's why. Tell the truth, George. No
I don't know
foreign
what
labor.
to tell
it's
you
all-
about that. Sometimes
No,
it's more
I'm kidding.
expensive.
But exactly. But really to see everybody take such pride, and all the retailers, they all want to see you, and they know no matter who they're dealing with an owner of the company.
Yeah.
You take great pride. How often, George and Orlando, do you both go down to Nicaragua?
We go all the time. I mean, we go at least once a month. That's part of the success of our business, that the family's involved on a day-to-day basis. either if not going, but on the phone, and there's always constant
Everybody's doing
communication.
something at any time.
Yeah, so everybody's very involved in everything that's going on. So.
Yeah, and I remember during the boom, there was a lot of temptation for manufacturers to really increase the output of cigars. You never did that.
No. Well, I mean, again, we've been around in this business for a long time. We know what it is that it takes to make a great cigar, and you can't rush that. You can't, try to increase production too rapidly. You got to have raw material. You got to have the right people. You got to have the space. There's a lot of things that go into play.
Well, I know that the values your father instilled, the work ethic, the philosophy, those continue in perpetuity. So his memory and all the values, live forever. So it's always an honor to come visit you, and I love coming into your booth. You've been longtime friends.
All right.
George,
Thank you, Dave.
Orlando Padron.
Thank you, sir.
It would be incomplete to come and see two great friends here at the Premium Cigar Association Convention in Las Vegas.